The Most Dangerous Game was a short story published first in 1924. We're going to get into one of the movies that is loosely based on that short story. Let's do it. And the movie I'm referring to is 1994's Surviving the Game. Yes, this movie came out April 15th of 1994. It's rated R. Had a budget of $7.4 million, and unfortunately, upon release, it only made $7.7 million. Now, granted, this film has a very similar plot to Hard Target, the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Lance Henriksen. That movie came out less than a year before this film came out and was more successful at the box office. And also, that movie is notably for John Woo's first American film. And I really like Hard Target. Actually, I would even say I like Hard Target more than this film. It's more entertaining action picture. But I do enjoy this film, so let's get into it a little bit. This film was directed by Ernest Dickerson. He's mostly known, he directed Juice, Bones, Bulletproof from Adam Sandler, and one of my favorite horror films of the 90s, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, which is a fantastic film if you've never seen it. And we got a great cast here of character actors who all chew the shit out of scenery, and it's glorious in every way. We got Rutger Hauer as Thomas Burns. He's the head of this group of hunters. Ice-T plays Jack Mason, our main protagonist. He is this gentleman who's down on his luck. He's living on the streets, and he runs into Charles Dutton, who's in this film, Walter Cole, who offers him a job, and, well, things don't go exactly as he planned on. So, yes, Charles S. Dutton's in this film. Gary Busey's in this film as Doc. F. Murray Abraham's in this as Wolf Sr., and John C. McGinley is in this as Griffin. And basically, this movie is very simple, and it's loosely based on The Most Dangerous Game. If you've never read that short story, there's been movies made countless times. The first one was in 1932 with Fay Wray. Hard Target is loosely based on The Most Dangerous Game. These stories have been told time and time again. So anyway, Ice-T's character, Jack Mason, is down on his luck. He's living on the streets, and he lives in this, little, this interior area with this older gentleman, and the older gentleman passes away after we're introduced to them briefly, and there are trials and tribulations about getting food and whatnot, and then the old man passes away. So, and he's his only friend, his only true friend in the world, and he feels really down on his luck, and he's kind of walking the streets, and he decides he's going to commit suicide. He walks right in front of a tractor trailer, and Charles S. Dutton's character pulls him out of the way and tries to talk him down a little bit. He goes, "Look, I have a job for you if you want it." And he gives him a card and tells him to go to this address. After thinking about it, Jack goes to this address, and that's where he meets Rutger Hauer's character. And he tells him he's going to be a hunting guide. And Jack Mason's like, I don't know shit about hunting. I only ever lived in the city. He goes, "Don't worry. As long as you have good stamina, you're right man for the job." And he has him get on a treadmill, and if he can do it for 30 minutes, give him $20. He does. He gets the job. And the next day, he flies to the middle of nowhere with Charles Dutton's character and Rutger Hauer's character. And this is where we're introduced to our rest of our cast here, our main cast. We're introduced to Gary Busey as Doc. He says he's a psychiatrist. Right away, Gary Busey pulls off insane pretty easily, even back then. And he comes off as insane right away. And in all the best ways. I love Gary Busey as an actor. I always have. And I know people say he's over the top. And he can be over the top, no doubt. But it's so damn good. And it just feels right. F. Murray Abrahams brings his son along on his hunting trip as well. And John C. McGinley's one of the other hunters. That they've had this hunting pack for years. And they all come to the same cabin. They meet and they go on a hunting trip. So they have this dinner scene. And we kind of get to know a little bit about each character. And Gary Busey goes into this monologue about how he got into hunting. And he tells this story about this dog his father had bought him. And Gary Busey's great in the scene. And originally that scene was not in the film. Gary Busey wrote that on the spot, a 2-page monologue. And he performed it that day. And the director loved it so much he kept it in. It's a fantastic scene. The dinner scene's fantastic. Get to know about these guys. All these guys seem a little off in their own way. The normalest person is F. Murray Abraham's kid. He sees, when the things get going, he's the one that protests about what the hell they're doing. And the next morning, they go to bed, and Mason gets woken up by Charles S. Dutton character pointing a gun on his head. And all the guys come in and start pushing him around, and they're like, you got a head start. We're going to sit down and have a leisurely breakfast, and then we're going to hunt your ass down. So you better get going. And they throw him out the door, and he starts running. And they sit down and actually have a leisurely breakfast. And then once they're done, they hop on their ATVs or motorcycles, and they take off after his ass. And from there on out, once it gets going, it takes about 45 minutes to get to this point. Once it gets going, it's pretty much just about them trying to hunt his ass down. And at this point, when they wake him up that morning, they're treating him like a piece of trash. They do not respect him any which way as a human being or nothing. They all think he's a piece of shit, pretty much. And they even say that to his face. And Wolf Sr.'s kid, who they call Wolf Jr., is totally against it. He doesn't want nothing to do with it. His dad's like, look, I paid $50,000. You're going to frickin' do it. And you're going to have fun. And we're going to see what kind of man you are. And they all consider this like, it's basically loosely based on the most dangerous game. Man is the most dangerous game of all. Now, they didn't give him a weapon. It's pretty much they're going to hunt him down. And things don't go like they expect. He fights back. There's a cool scene where he backtracks back to the cabin. And there was this locked room when he first got there, and he wondered what was in there. So he figured there was weapons in there. He breaks the lock and goes in. And there's these shelves lined up around the room with the heads of the guys in these glass jars, probably in formaldehyde, I assume. And of all the trophies that they've all these people they have hunted over the years. They decapitate their heads and put them in jars. And he's like, Jesus Christ. And he puts gasoline all around the cabin, and he lights it on fire, and he has a fight with Gary Busey. He ends up killing Gary Busey's character, which is a shame. I think Gary Busey gets excommunicated a little early in the film, and he takes off. And pretty much the rest of the movie is he fights back, kills some of the hunters, or they make a stupid mistake and get killed in their own. And at the end of the movie, Rutger Hauer thinks he killed Ice-T, and he gets in a plane and takes off. Now, all the other hunters are dead at this point. Well, Ice-T makes his way back to civilization, and he takes revenge on Rutger Hauer before he could take off. He's going to leave the state or the country, has his passport, because these other guys have families, and he starts getting phone calls about, why isn't my husband home? Where's my son? So he's getting ready to leave. Ice-T ambushes him in the alley, gets his revenge, and we have a happy ending. And that is Surviving the Game. This movie is most notable also they use no sets and no sound stages. Everything was filmed on location in Washington State. And I think, unfortunately, this was released too close to Hard Target. It was too similar in tone, where Hard Target had the selling point was John Woo's first American film, and it was sold as a straight action picture, which Hard Target is certainly a more action-driven picture than this film. Although they have similar plots where rich people are paying these homeless guys to go on this hunt, and if they can survive and get to a certain point, in Hard Target, they're actually going to get some money. They have a money belt on. This film, they never give him any money. They promise him money, but they basically tell him if he reaches civilization, his prize is he can live. That's pretty much the only prize he gets if he can survive. Other than that, the screenwriter also, Eric Brent is his name. He expressed regret that they killed off Gary Busey so early in the film. Gary Busey's in the film for not as long as he should have been. He's really good in the role. All the actors do fantastic. It's just Gary Busey, after he tells that dinner scene, he should have lasted longer in the film. But, I mean, what are you going to do? All the actors are great. Rutger Hauer's great. Ice-T does well as Jack Mason. Charles S. Dutton's great. All these actors are fantastic. What would I give Surviving? There are some problems with the film. I think there's an effect shot that's really bad when the sun falls off this log. It looks terrible. And I think there's some pacing issues. But overall, it's a fun movie. I would give it a 7 out of 10. You could definitely have fun, sit down and have a good time with this movie. Again, I like Hard Target better, but that movie's more action-oriented and it's action-packed, where this one takes its time, and then once it gets going, it's not quite as action-packed, but there's some fantastic sequences, no doubt. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Surviving the Game. Have you ever seen this film? What are your thoughts on it? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up for me. I greatly appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button. Join me here. And I hope you all stay safe. Take care, and I'll be back soon. Thanks. Bye.